Steve, Jeff, good to see you guys. Hey, Tish. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, on March 29, 2023, Governor Maura Healey signed into law an act making appropriations for the fiscal year 2023 to provide for supplementing certain existing appropriations and for certain other activities and projects. This act includes an extension until March 31st, 2025 of the remote meeting provisions. On June 10th, 2024, the Select Board will be meeting and conducted via remote participation by the board. The chair will grant permission to Westwood Media Center to record the meeting and to anyone else who wishes to record the meeting. And before we start, I want to remind people that if you wish to speak, please raise your hand in the chat room and enter your name and address, please. That's very important. Tish will then read your question. We will still follow the 2-minute rule. I don't want to subject Tish to reading the Gettysburg Address, so please keep your questions and comments short. Tish, did I miss anything? Okay. So is Pat joining us? Hey, Steve.
Oh, hey, Joe.
Good.
I don't see Pat yet. Let me shoot him a text.
So while you're doing that, Tish and Steve, your timing's perfect. Let me just, for the chair's comment on update on Memorial Sunday. Mass law recognizes Sunday each year in June to honor all departed firefighters who died as a result of their firefighting duties. The memorial has the names of 11 Westwood firefighters whom I all worked with, and it was an honor with my colleagues, Marianne and Rob, and to honor these men and pay our respects to their families. I'd like to extend my special thanks to Local 1994 for inviting the Select Board, Chris Coleman, Molly Keene, and Richard Stady from the Norfolk County to this special event honoring those fallen firefighters. I know, Rob, Marion, if you guys have anything you'd like to say along those lines. If not, I will move along.
No, just a spectacular event as always, Chief. Your men and women do a great job with that, and was glad to have another beautiful day. That's a couple in a row, at least, that I've attended where the weather has cooperated magnificently.
Yeah, it wasn't 100 degrees this year.
And I agree. It was a wonderful and meaningful event. Thank you.
Chris Coleman, you're up.
Thank you. The update that I have is regarding our recreation department. Our recreation department is gearing up, or more than gearing up, for our summer program, which begins with week 1 on June 24th. I had the pleasure of speaking with some of the members of the recreation team today. As many of you know, the recreation department offers a variety of programs throughout the year, but the summer has the most participants than any other season. You know, I believe we're truly fortunate in Westwood to have such dedicated team members who continue to offer robust programming. And for many of our summer team members, this may be their first job. So this is a great opportunity for a variety of reasons. And I just want to give special thanks to the recreation team for all they do in helping create some great memories.
That's great. Thank you, Chris. Before I move on to the Public Safety Department reports, Pat, thanks for joining us tonight. Always appreciate you cutting out some time for us. Jeff, would you like to go first with your update? You might be on mute.
Chief, you're on mute.
Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for having me. So we have a few updates for the police department in no particular order. First, we have some hiring. We have some vacancies that were caused for a variety of reasons. One, our Lieutenant Vinci, as we all know, left to go be the chief of police in Dover. So it was a great accomplishment for him, although we miss him. So that creates a vacancy. And then we had another one of our officers resign to pursue a civilian job. Unfortunately, she had some, other family concerns, but she did a great job for us, Officer Brianna Park. And so we wish her well. And Detective Claremont resigned to spend some more time with her family, although she ensures us that she'll be back, and we hope she is, because she's been a terrific officer and done a lot of great work, both here in the police department and from a community impact point of view, does a lot of outreach to some members in the community. So we really miss her. We wish her well, but we expect her to be back soon. And then we have a fourth officer who's been out on long-term leave, who we expect to be gone. So 3 vacancies in the kind of immediate term that were caused. A fourth one we've been waiting for a long time. So we also have some retirements going to be coming. So as a result, we did some solicitations for lateral transfers. It's a great opportunity for the town. We save money from having to send people to the police academy. We also get people that are actually tried and true, if you will. They don't have to explore the position to decide if it's for them. They're existing police officers. They bring with them a variety of training and experience, and allows us to also achieve diversity in the many organic forms that we can achieve that in. So we've got some job offers that are out for them. For 4 officers, we have a list of existing officers for more, so that's pretty exciting. When Lieutenant Vinci left to become the chief, we had a couple promotions. Sergeant Mike DeLala, who's our accreditation manager, got promoted to lieutenant, and Officer Jeremy Lenzo, who's been with the department quite some time, was promoted to sergeant. He's currently the school resource officer. So congratulations to them again officially. Some exciting news. Always happy to promote our members. And for news, we're in the midst of a few different exciting things. We co-applied with Sharon for a mental health clinician grant that allows a mental health clinician to co-respond with our officers to calls. So many of the calls that we go on involve people that are dealing with emotional upset or situational upset for a variety of reasons. Just so many things that in the past we were dealing with police officers only. So it's very exciting to have the opportunity to bring on a mental health professional to help with those calls. It's great for de-escalation. It's great for having a pipeline to get services for the people who need it. In some cases, it can free up the time of the officers who can go handle the calls that only police officers can handle or are best suited to handle. And this frees up police and firefighters, frankly. Many times we were at these incidents for quite some time because we were the only ones who could respond. So pretty excited that we received that grant, and that's up and running with the Sharon Police. And we also have the usual grants that we apply for. Some we've already been granted, Governor's Safety, Highway Safety Grant, 911 support and training grants, and we have the Federal Bulletproof Vest Reimbursement Grant, and we're again applying for the Federal COPS Grant because, as I've spoken to the board in the community before, there's been a lot of growth in town, demand growth at University Station and otherwise. So we're trying to increase the staff. There's some federal grant funding out there that allows for a full reimbursement of officer salaries for a period of years, and then it goes to 75% and 50%. So it's a great way to onboard staff and get that federal grant money to do it, so it doesn't come at a taxpayer cost, and then we can slowly put that into the budget. So that's pending. We'll wait to see on that. So that's the public safety update.
Jeff, I'm amazed. I had about 8 or 10 points down. You hit them all. We didn't even rehearse.
Thank you.
Great report. Mary
Thanks.
and Rob, do you folks have any comments?
I just want to congratulate the officers who were promoted, and great news on the grants, Chief, particularly the mental health clinician grant. That's terrific to hear. Thank you.
And I'd echo that and wish those who have opted to pursue other opportunities and or spend more time with family. Congratulations and many thanks for their service.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Steve, do you have a report for us?
I do. So along the same lines, we're in the process of taking applications. We're gonna have 3 openings, July 1st. We have one right now from when Chief Deckers resigned. And then 2 more that the town funded for July 1st. So we've got about 30 applicants in so far. Look like some really good candidates. And then on that line, the SAFER grant, I'm still waiting to hear back. It wasn't, it won't be approved till probably early fall. And then we also have had some promotions. The captains were all promoted to deputy chiefs.
Yep.
And one of the firefighters, Pat Durant, was promoted to lieutenant. So a lot of movement with us as well.
Excellent, excellent. Mary Ann, any questions or comments?
Just thank you, Chief. Very happy to be a part of the promotion ceremony, which was very well done and really beautiful occasion for the officers and their families.
Good to have you there.
Thank you.
That was a great job. Steve, thank you very much. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Next, we move to Jeff, we're coming back to you for the Police Explorer recognitions.
Yes. So we've had the real great opportunity to talk about this Explorer program a bit since I've been here in town. It's a program that was in existence long before me. We've had a lot of our police officers were police explorers, and we've had the opportunity with the support of the town and the community to actually expand the Explorer post. We have candidates from all over. Once upon a time, it used to be just from Westwood, but we have candidates from all over different communities that touch Westwood, and some that are quite far away or comparatively far away, like our 2 award recipients that we have tonight. As you know, we're the multi-time first place champions in the state for our Explorer post. We just placed in the top 3 positions again at the statewide competition, so very proud of them. With us tonight for award recipients, we have Caleb Griffiths and Adam Jones. So Caleb is from Arlington. He's a class of 2024 at Lexington Christian Academy, and he joined our post a couple years ago during his junior year. And during this time with the post, he did 100 hours of community service with the police department and to the town. And he additionally volunteered another 75 hours with Harvard Law School's Criminal Justice Institute. So very busy, real great paying it forward, and that selfless commitment that we try to instill in our explorers, very important to care about not only their careers, they're also ambitious in their college education, but not forgetting about their community and their broader community along the way. So Caleb certainly is a great example of that. He's an award-winning wrestler for the Eastern Independent League, and he'll be attending Harvard University this fall where he'll study government economics. So he's our winner of the Silver Award for excellent and outstanding community service in the Explorer post. So congratulations to Caleb. He's with us.
Excellent.
Secondarily, we have Adam. Adam, again, when we talked about our Explorer post really growing and really attracting young people from all over, kind of embracing that philosophy, that we may be a small community in Westwood, but our larger community as citizens throughout the region are not to be overlooked. They're very important. We try to work together in the police department. We try to work together in our programs, and we try to work together as a town, as we all know, through our various community compact programs. And so, Adam is a good example of someone we were able to reach out and attract and bring his talents and his abilities and his efforts to us. He's from Cumberland, Rhode Island. He goes to Bishop Feion High School, and he joined the post back in June of 2023. He has the honor of having the longest commute of any of our police explorers, but that notwithstanding, he had a perfect attendance for all our Explorer meetings. So as we know, weather in New England isn't always nice and sunny like it is today. So despite that, he's never missed an Explorer meeting. As a first-year Explorer in our statewide competition this year, he came in 2nd place in one of the various scenarios that they have to compete in, the first aid scenario. And he was really the standard bearer for his school by participating in extra curricular activities as well, such as the Red Cross Club, which assists our American Red Cross, again, volunteering and giving back to the community. So because of his volunteer hours with us here in the post and at the police department and here in town, and beyond that, frankly, he's the Bronze Award recipient for service awards here for our Explorer Post. So congratulations to Adam as well. Very proud of two great examples of a terrific Explorer Post.
Gentlemen, great to have you here. Thank you for, being part of the community, and congratulations on your awards.
I echo that, Caleb and Adam. I am so impressed by your public service and your leadership. Congratulations to both of you. You will clearly be successful, both of you, in whatever you do in the future. Best of luck to you, and thank you.
And I'll just reiterate that scouting's a terrific program. Jeff, I have to tell you, at Paul Sicard's and Leo's retirement, a couple of explorers got up and spoke. And you've got a great crew down there nurturing these young men and women along on a great career path. So kudos to you, and kudos to our two explorers. Thank you so much for your service to our community. And we wish you the very, very best. And thanks for joining us tonight. It's great to see you guys. Thank you. Excellent.
Caleb, good luck at Harvard in the fall.
Caleb, are you going to try and wrestle at Harvard?
I think they're a little bit above my pay grade, but if I could.
Good luck.
I'm sure you'll dazzle them. Okay, that brings. Thank you, Scouts. Jeff, I think you want to give us an update on the citation data. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You should be chairing the meeting tonight. I can just sit back.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
So, thanks for this opportunity again to speak to the board and the community. As the board knows, and those who watched know, I spoke about this earlier. And just to recap, for those that aren't familiar with it, the state passed a law when they passed the hands-free bill that you can't use your cell phone or other devices when you're driving. And as a part of that law, they put in a requirement that the state study citation data, either written warnings or actual citations where there's a fine, to look at the race and gender of the people that were cited, because fair and equitable policing or bias-free policing, there's a number of terms for it. It's something really that has always been the standard and always been the expectation, but there have been places where that has not happened, and it's an important priority in the Commonwealth. So, here in the Commonwealth, we've been at the, I'd say the front end or the tip of the spear, if you will, for efforts and initiatives to try and make sure that we're always checking what it is that we do. And so this data is studied every 2 years. It was studied for the years 2019 and 2020. And, there were about 3 or 4 police departments that the state suggested they look at their data. Westwood was not among them. And then for the years 2021 and 2022, that 2-year study, the data in 2021, Westwood was a part of a small handful of communities where the state suggested that they look at the data. But then in 2022, the data was, fine. It was within tolerance. It's a tricky study, because, in the study's own language, I have some direct quotes right from it, but anybody can go on and read it. The state says that the data does not reflect whether the motor vehicle encounter or stop was initiated at an officer's discretion or prompted by factors that limit the officer's discretion, like a radio call, a 911 call, a warrant, and so forth. So we warn that these findings, and then they put it in capital letters, do not prove that any of the listed departments are engaging in racial profiling, but rather there are many explanations for disparities in traffic enforcement other than officer bias. These findings simply serve as a starting point for further discussion and reflection. So that aside, it's certainly important to every chief and very important to me because I don't wait for the state to do their report every 2 years. We look at this data all the time. And so when Westwood got mentioned for 2021, but not the 2 years before or the year after, I took a look at all of our data. I asked the state to send me the methodology of the study because the data they're analyzing comes from us, but I wanted to know how they came up with that. I'm still waiting for that. I've made multiple requests. The last answer that I got was that there was a public comment period and it still has to be reviewed by the Attorney General's office. And so they weren't, I guess, releasing anything until, that was final. So I was not able to get the data on the methodology of their study from them, but I just didn't want to wait any longer. So we re-examined every traffic stop and every citation and every written warning that we gave. And what it was, and this just goes to show you how delicate, if you will, this study can be, literally one grain of sand on the scale. One of the studies they look at is what they call the veil of darkness. It's studying citations that are written during the daytime versus the evening or dawn and dusk under the theory or the possibility or the area of concern, if you will, that during the daytime officers may be able to see the race of the driver better than they could see the race or gender of the driver in the darkness. And so if you stopped a disparate number of people by race or gender in the day versus in the dark, that could be, as they mention in the disclaimer, something that serves as a starting point for further discussion and reflection. And so when we looked at it, we had one encounter, and you don't know which one it is, right? It could be a 911 call for an erratic driver, it could be a car accident, it could be anything. But we had one contact with an operator during the day that was more than during the veil of darkness, and that tipped the scale, if you will, for them to say, hey, take a look at your 2021 data. So for the purposes of the board and the community, we answer about 35,000 calls for service a year. We've had some years that are higher, some that are lower, but that's pretty much the standard. And not after we looked at these citations, we looked at citizen satisfaction that we do, that when we go through the police log and call people to ask them about their encounters. We looked at complaints about police conduct, which are only about 1 or 2 a year and typically take the form of rudeness or alleged rudeness. No complaints of any impropriety by race or gender. And we did a thorough analysis. And at the end of that, I'm pleased to say, even though it was a lot of work, I don't mind because it's an incredibly important topic. No indicia, no indication that the officers, did anything wrong, frankly. It's just was that one singular encounter that we had. If we had one less encounter during the day, during the night, than at the nighttime, the state wouldn't have selected us. So that's what we came up with. But it was, it's something that's always concerning to us. I don't want to give anybody the impression that we just don't pay any attention to this, until somebody says something. It's incredibly important. It's at the heart of what we do. People need to have confidence in the police department and the men and women that are out there protecting them. And they need to feel confident that we're committed to procedural justice and treating everybody fairly. And I'm completely confident in saying that, it's that number just is what it is. It is not indicative of anything, but it was a good opportunity for us to again review what we always review, just to make sure that we can be confident that what we're doing is right and that it's proper. And I'm here to tell you that it was.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeff. That was a great explanation. And thanks for staying ahead of the curve, giving us the heads up as soon as that information came out. Really appreciate that. Mary, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'd just like to acknowledge, Chief, that you have made clear to us on a number of occasions that procedural justice and bias-free policing is priority for our department, and I appreciate that. And could you just give folks a sense as to how generally how that's implemented in Westwood in your department?
Sure. I mean, a number of things that we do. I mean, I think it starts, I think the expression is, from the root to the fruit, right? We start from hiring. We literally changed our hiring practices to make sure that, we were inclusive and fair and showing procedural justice and legitimacy to the people that we're bringing into the police department, to make sure that our department was a meritocracy, but a meritocracy that, reflects the public that we serve. We're an fully accredited police department, which means that not only do we have to meet hundreds of standards to get the sanction of the outside state body to make sure that what we're doing is matches the best practices of the industry. We exceed the number of standards that we need to meet. We consistently do that with training. When there was a push in law enforcement to train 10% of the staff with advanced mental health training, we trained the whole staff. When there was a push at the statewide level to make sure officers had training in police legitimacy and bias-free policing, we brought in separate professional trainers to train the whole police department in that. And we just did it again, about a month ago or so. We just completed training for the whole department. We have supervisors on every shift. Once upon a time, that was not the case, but we have supervisors on every shift who monitor the calls that the officers go on. They do a great job, but it's important to check and verify what we're doing. And we have supervisors on every shift that do that. That data is then routinely examined by the operations commander, who's a lieutenant, and it's reviewed by me. I literally go through the log and I'll call people that have encounters with us in the community, and provides for some interesting conversations when they get a call from the police chief. They're surprised to hear it, quite frankly. But we check how their encounters were. We don't wait until a complaint comes in. We don't wait until a problem comes in. We proactively and sporadically go out and inquire. What are we doing? And just because it's right doesn't mean we can't do it better. I think it's important to always look for continuous improvement. If we as a society didn't do that, then we'd still be getting, water from the lake with a bucket, right? I mean, so, you're always looking to kind of move the needle forward, look at the best practices, engage with the community, make sure you match the community and stay involved. And so those are just a very small kind of 30,000 foot view of some of the things that we do. But we consistently do that.
Thank you, Chief.
Rob, any questions or comments?
Yeah, Chief, obviously, thank you to you and the department. Based on the data prior to this and the data since this, I find it amazing that, 1 out of 35 would be statistically significant enough to ask you to take a look at your practices. But you know what? Transparency, you did, and we appreciate the report here. Is there anything further with follow-up with the state that is required as when they ask you to take a look at your data?
No, there's nothing else required. It's reviewed by the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security and the Attorney General's office, because that's a requirement of the statute. I'm sure if, the Attorney General's office or EOPS had any concern, I mean, they'd tell us, before, long before now, but they need to review that, final report on that data. And it, look, it was a lot of work, but I'll tell you and I'll tell the community, it's okay. I think it's a good mission, right? I mean, there's other than an immediate protection of life and property, there's nothing any more worthwhile than us putting effort into making sure that people feel that they're treated fairly, that their police department is, doing the right thing, not just when it's convenient, not making the right decision just because it's easy or it's convenient, making the right decision and the fair decision all the time. That legitimacy is at the heart of what we do. And so we're happy to do it. I love the opportunity to talk about our staff that I just think is terrific, and the town that I think is incredibly supportive. And so, I'd welcome anybody to call me if they had any further questions or they wanted to talk about it offline. I've done, I don't know how many tours of the police station and everything else. And, it's an open book here. I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the concern. Nobody's more concerned about it than me. But you know,
Well, thank you to you and the entire team and the department for all that you do.
Oh, our pleasure. Happy to do it.
Jeff, you and I talked about this before, but I'm complete confidence in your explanation, but I think you and I share the same view. It's pretty hard to critique a study if they don't tell you the methodology, and I find that very troubling. I haven't seen that, to be honest with you.
It's, you know, I'd say it's a bit, you know, by analogy, it's a bit of a blunt instrument other than a scalpel, but it's an incredibly important topic, right? So certainly, you know, we can all say as a practical matter, well, it just makes no sense that we've never had an issue. It was fine in 2019. It was fine in 2021. We have all the same staff. We didn't just wake up one day and said, you know what, let's just engage in bias policing today, and then do that in 2021, and then say, gee, that wasn't what it was cracked up to be, and then stop in 2022, right? But it doesn't matter because it's an incredibly important topic. So it's important to look at those things. It's important to make sure that people feel reassured. It gives us the opportunity to review our policies and our practices. And, you know, it's an imprecise science, right? Because it deals with the contacts that the police have with the public, but they come in many ways. It's not just a police officer sitting on the side of the road deciding which car to stop. It's a 911 call for an erratic driver. It's a car accident. It's somebody who has, you know, a suspended license that we wouldn't even know. And when they do, then you have to issue a citation. So, I mean, there's a series of complications there. There's also a series of complications as it relates to reporting of race and gender, right? We've seen over the last number of years, I think malleability, I guess, for lack of a better term, the malleability of gender, or the malleability of how people identify, and the subjectivity of how officers identify those people. You don't go to the registry and declare your race and gender. So the officer is literally, he or she is writing on the citation their best guess of what somebody's race and gender is. So theoretically, the same person could come into contact with 3 different police officers and get recorded as 3 different races or 3 different genders, right? So it's an imprecise science, if you will. I think the state does the best they can with it, but it causes some consternation when you hear about it, and for me too, of course, which is why we looked at it.
Well, we very much appreciate the efforts that you, and I'm sure you had a few others sharpening their pencils as well. I do see a question in the Q&A. Tish, can you help me out with that? Is that relative to Jeff's presentation?
It is, but if the resident could put their address in the Q&A, then we can read the question.
Okay.
Just give her a minute or so.
Sure.
You know, while we're waiting on that too, Tish, I mean, if, you know, I know some people, you know, not maybe comfortable with public commentary, you know, they can just give me a call at the station or send me an email. I'm happy to talk to them. I have lots of offline conversations with people all the time, and they don't need to feel like they have to wait to the board meeting to talk to me. You know, happy to talk to them anytime.
Great point. Great point.
Okay. So the resident just said the question was already answered. Thanks.
Oh.
So no need to ask it.
Okay.
Strong work, Jeff. Strong work. Like it. Any other questions before we move on? Pat, is there a second one there, Tish? Or is that just a response?
Yep, that was a response.
Terrific. Jeff, thank you so much, and thank you for all your hard work on that. Excellent, excellent explanation, and thanks to your team as well.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we have Stephanie, I believe, with the release of capital. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Would you be so kind, Miss Stephanie?
Sure. This past May, town meeting approved a number of capital budget articles. That includes municipal capital for $1,335,250, school capital for $1,017,000, sewer capital for $750,000, and then a number of ambulance related capital for $120,000. With that, as part of the language in those articles, there is the requirement that of release by the select board. So it requires a majority vote of the select board before any of those funds can be expended. So tonight I am requesting the board approve $3,222,250 that was approved at town meeting to be released at this time. The request is coming ahead of the start of the new fiscal year FY25, as departments need to do their work over the summer, especially the schools, and or need to initiate the purchase process for large capital that can take time, such as DPW equipment and vehicles. So all projects that are related to the request for tonight must undergo any appropriate procurement procedures before final release. That is the request before the board tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that.
Thank you, Stephanie. Mary Ann, any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you, Stephanie.
Rob?
No questions from me, Mr. Chair.
All right, and Tish, I don't see anything in the queue there. Is that correct? All right, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd be happy to. I move that the select board approve the release of the FY25 capital totaling $3,222,250 to the various departments contingent upon all procurement procedures and checklists being fulfilled.
I'll second that motion.
All right, roll call vote. Mary Ann?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you,
Thank
Steph.
you all.
Thank you.
I think we're all set with Stephanie. Correct, Chris? That brings us up
Yes.
to, that brings us up to the
New
traffic.
business, I believe, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, traffic supervisors. Who's gonna,
Yes.
are you
That would
handling
be
that?
Molly.
Molly.
Me.
Thanks, Molly.
Hello. So this is the town's smallest collective bargaining unit, the Traffic Supervisors Association. There are 11 of them. This is an interesting bargaining unit as each of the employees only works about 10 hours per week, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. And as a result of that, it is an incredibly difficult position to recruit for and retain, as Chief Silva could probably attest to. Typically, it's going to be filled by a retiree or a stay-at-home parent, just because those are the hours that it accommodates. Taking a look at where our wages fell in retrospect to neighboring communities like Norwood and Walpole, we were beginning to fall a bit behind. So the main change in this collective bargaining agreement is a new wage table to make us more competitive, to prevent us from losing any really good people to Norwood and Westwood. And then the other significant change in this go around is a $150 stipend. And that is awarded because we are now requiring that all traffic supervisors be both CPR and AED trained, which is a wonderful thing for the community. So before you tonight is the MOA for FY 25, 26, 27, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Mary Ann, any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Molly. Obviously, these are hugely important positions in our community for so many reasons. And I just wanted to be sure that with the proposed increase in salary, that we will now be competitive with our local communities.
We definitely are. So this next wage table will put us slightly above Norwood, which is the #1 place we're more likely to lose people. So I would say in terms of compensation, we're definitely above and beyond our comparables. And then just to reiterate what Chief Silva was saying is Westwood's a wonderful place to work. We are very lucky that we don't have a lot of turnover in these positions. It's mostly due to retirement, and we want to keep it that way.
Thank you very much.
Rob, any questions or comments?
Get myself off mute. No, I have nothing to ask on this one.
Great, and I don't see any questions in the Q&A. And Molly, I was thrilled to see the CPR AED in there. I think that's a great negotiation. Great negotiation. All right, would anyone like to make a motion?
I would. I move that the select board approve the Westwood Traffic Supervisors proposed contract for fiscal year 2025 to fiscal year 2027.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, Mary Ann?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you. Next, we have discussion on long-range financial planning. Who's going to?
Mr. Chair, I can provide the
two great-
board with a little bit of
great
overview on this.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
So when Marianne was chair, there was a conversation that was had, or there was something stated regarding the long-range financial planning, looking into the possibility of researching a real estate sales surcharge for home buyers. The board at that time did not vote either yes or no to this. So, Mr. Chair, what I'm suggesting is that the board have a conversation. If this is something they would like to formally vote on, discuss and formally vote on, and if they do vote in the affirmative, then the long-range financial planning, which Mr. Gotti chairs, could then convene a meeting and then have a conversation on this. So the idea behind this, it originally was I believe, a 2006 citizens petition, and the idea is there are some other communities that do this, where they would generate some revenue to offset some of their expenses with the home sales. So the buyers coming into the community would pay a fee to purchase a home in Westwood. The town would then be able to collect those funds and then apply those funds throughout its operating and/or capital budgets. Marianne or Rob, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to that.
Sure. I mean, this certainly seems consistent with the mission of the Long Range Financial Planning Committee. We have had several meetings where we have looked at a lot of the things that are on the list for needing capital investment, and when it's part of what led to the facilities study that's underway now. And we've also had Nora come in and present to us, status on some of the commercial development in town. As everybody knows, that is a relief valve for residents. And so given that we only have 6% of our land here in town that is commercial and not a whole lot of undeveloped land, it would be prudent for us to take a look at this and come up with, a position that the committee would put forward to the select board.
Thank you, Rob. Marianne, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think, this is a topic that would be well worth the Long Range Financial Planning Committee discussing, considering. Given our capital needs, I think we need to be creative and broad-minded in thinking about sources for that. So I do think that this is something that would be well discussed at that level.
Thank you, Marianne. I liked it back then, and I like it now. I think it's worth pursuing, Rob, with your committee. So does anyone else have any questions? And I don't see anything in the queue, correct, Tish? Okay. Any last minute? Okay, so Rob, you're looking for us to make a motion to bring it for your committee to pursue looking into this, correct?
Yeah, I think it makes sense for us to signal to the committee that that's what we would like them to look at, and we'll happily, vet this thoroughly and come back to the select board with recommendations.
Terrific. So who would like to make a motion?
I'd be happy to. I hereby move that the select board authorize the Long Range Financial Planning Committee to research a real estate sales surcharge.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Rob. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote. Marianne?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Rob, thanks for taking that on.
Thank you, Tish. I'll circle back with you and we'll get a Google poll out to the folks. I know, could be tough to get everybody over the summer, but we'll see what we can do to get the Long Range Financial Planning Committee back together. And Chris, or Stephanie, I'll reach out with maybe some preliminary informational needs to help those folks get familiar.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Our next item is the Fire Station 1 project update, and we have Mr. Chin Lin, our OPM on this project. Chin, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Would you like to take it away, please?
Sure. Tish, would you be bringing up the presentation, or should I share my screen?
Either way, if you can share your screen if you'd like to.
Okay, I could do that. As you would recall that the image on the screen right now is the image that was done during the feasibility study, and since then that the project has progressed, and that we want to give the select board an update on that. And currently the schedule is looking at while we are in DD, we're in the schematic design phase, and then we should be done in July. And this is a rough schedule of what it will be moving forward. And right now we are trying to nail down the annual town meeting in the spring of 2025 in terms of the exact dates. We'll be coming back to the select board on that, and then the plan is to go into construction in the summer of 2025 with the completion of occupancy in 2027. And I'm going to pause for a second if there's any question from the board that I should answer right now for on the schedule part.
I'll just add, Chin, that of course construction would be contingent upon a town meeting vote.
Right. That is correct. Yes.
Yes.
Apology for not clarifying. It will be contingent upon the town meeting approval and as well as a debt exclusion. We do anticipate that we'll have the first round of cost estimate sometime later this summer. Yeah.
Is Chief Lund still with us? I'm just curious, how things have been going. Joe, maybe you can speak to this as our representative on the committee, or Chris or Molly, since Molly, you're sort of heading it. How's it going and with ensuring that the department gets what it needs from a programming standpoint, while trying to make sure that we engineer this in such a way that is, as cost effective as possible for the community?
I think I'll let Chief Lund speak first to see how well he thinks we're taking care of him, and then I can answer sort of the second part of that question.
Yeah, so the initial design, we really built the box, for lack of a better term, with everything that we need programmatically in there. And that kind of sets the footprint for the rest of it. And so we have all the modern things that we need in a safe, modern fire station built in already. And then now we're looking at the design of the outside, and we're looking at the rooms on the living space and all that stuff. But the way we set it up was I have the deputies come in, and then they brief their groups after every meeting, and they give their feedback. So it's been a really good setup. We're getting a lot of good back and forth between the firefighters and the committee, and we've really worked on getting everything programmatically desirable in there.
Excellent. Thank you. I got some real good feedback at the memorial on Sunday. So it sounds like things are going quite well.
They are.
Yeah, we spent so much time on the apparatus floor because as a group, we really figured that if we couldn't get that right, we couldn't get the rest of the building right. And nobody knows the apparatus floor better than the members of the fire department. And so the working group meets bi-weekly, but Doran Whittier and Vertex are meeting with the fire department on a weekly, if not multi-weekly basis, to make sure that their voices are being heard and incorporated into the recommendation design. In terms of cost savings, everybody is of the belief that we want to give our firefighters everything that they want, and then also knowing that we have to sell this project to the greater public. And so every decision we make, does this need to happen, or is this a want? And then keeping track of those different things where we can. And if we can add them back in, that's great. But looking at it with both viewpoints of support the fire department, anything operationally or comfort-wise that they need. This, we were talking last week, this isn't just an office building, it's also their home. So it's a very unique building to try to design, and also balancing that with trying to make an economically prudent project that can, withstand the test of time.
I think we've also done some cost savings for the temp op station, so that we could lower the cost that way. So
That looks like a great setup to Chin.
Speaking of which,
Well, the temp op that after many discussion that it was agreed that we will be using the American Legion's the site, and then that the most economic option to do this is to use modular building option, and this is the current iteration of the layout on the site. And I should also add that the INET relocation issue has also been incorporated, that we have met with IT department and then come up with a plan that the current plan is to relocate the INET system to as part of the temp op, and then we will then bring back the INET back to the Fire Station number 1 by building a room for the permanent home for the INET. And currently we're in the pricing stage, and then we understand that this is very feasible, and then so that we're moving forward with that. And so this is so we are using the most economic option in the temp op situation. And then as for the permanent, for the final building, that this is this layout right now is the current footprint of the building. They are working, try to work out all the details necessary to make it all fit. And as Chief said, that right now that the current right now that it's the elevation, the look of the building, how does it work, how does it fit into the community, etc. And then we've been getting feedback from not only the department town hall, but also feedback from Nora as well on that. And I think that's all there is. And if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you,
Chair,
Chen.
if I could just add something?
Sure, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Rob, just to further answer your question, I think this has been a great collaboration, this working group. The non-firefighters are learning from the firefighters regarding the needs of a fire station. And I think the firefighters are learning from the non-firefighters, along with the professionals, about the process, the project, the scope, and the bigger picture. So I think it's been a total collaboration in a very positive way.
That's great.
Thank you, Chris. And I also want to acknowledge Don. Thank you for joining in. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to say along the lines here.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, happy to be here and listen for the most part. But I will say that the programming process that we've gone through with the fire department and subsequently with the working group, as the chief has said, has been excellent. It's been a great back and forth. And people should know that there are no extras in this building. Based upon what's in the existing building and what's needed today and what's projected into the future, this building should meet those needs.
One question I had, Chin, was with respect to the timeline that you showed that we're in a schematic design phase and moving into, the detailed design or the in July. Everything looking good for that timing?
At the moment, we are on that schedule, and we're moving forward to. Right now, the team is working very hard to make sure that we have all the requests from the department and the users, and making sure that we have everything ready so that we can do the first round of pricing. So we are on schedule. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. And when Chin said it's an exquisitely tight timeline, that's an understatement. I really didn't appreciate until we started putting the numbers up on the wall how tight that timeline is. But I do need to share something with you, Rob, as far as the cost and those sorts of things. We looked at utilizing the American Legion. We also looked at the basement of Town Hall, which I couldn't shower quickly enough after walking out of that place. But in any case, I was very pleasantly surprised at one of our meetings. Chief Lund and his assistant Colin McCarthy announced that they came to the decision. A huge part of this is what to do with the fire department administration. Should we rent a third trailer? Should we have them in the American Legion, in the town hall, so forth and so on? And Chief Lund and his assistant Colin, they said, you know, we're going to be cramped no matter where we go. So why don't we just move headquarters administration to the Islington Fire Station, where we'll be cramped, and we'd rather put that $1 million plus towards the fire station. And I think that's a huge, huge comment on how committed these firefighters are and the administration is to making this work. So I wanted you to be aware of that. I think it was very moving, very helpful for me during that.
Thanks for that, Joe, and thank you, Chief, and Colin, for that great idea.
Yeah, no problem. It's a couple of years. We could deal with anything for a couple of years, right?
Great attitude. Mary Ann, any questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you, Chin, for this presentation. Thank you, Don, for being here. Chief, I'm just delighted to hear as to the extent of the collaboration going into this building, which is exactly what we wanted. So thank you all so much for your hard work.
Mr. Chair, there is one question in the Q&A.
Thanks, Rob. Do you have anything else, Rob, before I get to that?
I do not.
Okay. Tish, can you help me out with that question, please?
Sure. Kathy Wallace, 283 Farm Lane. Similar to the Pine Hill project, will the Fire Station 1 project have a professional PR firm to help inform residents about the project? If yes, what is the schedule for the project promotion?
I'm happy to take that, Mr. Chair. So we discussed at our last meeting, we're sort of moving from schematic design and handing, recommendations off to the architects to do what they do, which is to see, is this even feasible? And so over the summer, trying to come up with a community media information campaign, for lack of words. And so the idea of a professional PR firm has been discussed. And so we're hoping to research that in the month of July. And then the real information sharing would start in the fall after Labor Day.
And Molly, you put together a pretty nice tentative schedule as far as how we're going to attack the public information sessions, along with the PR firm as well. And that seemed to be pretty aggressive. And I had to leave the meeting early, but it seemed like we're making some great headway on that, as well as Rob, Marion, as far as notifying the public, getting their input into it as well. Chris, did I miss anything on that?
Mr. Chair, I think you covered everything, and I also just want to specify, just to make it clear for for the board members as well as those listening, the working group is also going to make sure that we're going to be contacting the abutters as well. So we will have a direct communication with the abutters to get their feedback, get their thoughts, make sure we address their concerns, because again, this is going to be a true partnership.
Thank you, Chris. Tish, anything else in the queue there?
There's one more question.
Sure.
Another question from Kathy Wallace, 283 Farm Lane. As there was for the school building project, will there be a professionally managed webpage with robust information for residents to follow the project to be fully informed? This is particularly vital since the meetings are not open to the public.
I'm also happy to take that one, Mr. Chair.
Sure. I'll let you take it, but I want to just make the point that, Chen, you recognized right away that we had some opportunities on our web page to improve, and I think you made those suggestions to Molly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Molly, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. The working group has had that conversation. We're going to spend the summer strategizing how best to advertise this project, and then come September to have a revamped webpage that will be consistently updated through the town meeting in the spring, and then hopefully beyond that.
Thank God we're all on the same page coming out of those meetings. Chin, thank you very much. Don, thank you for joining us. Last bite of the apple for anybody if you have any questions. Steve, thanks for chiming in as well. Chin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Off-leash and dog park. Let me go to my notes here. Chris, do you want to do this, or would you like me to?
I can certainly I can provide some background, but if Mr. Chair, if you'd like to go through and speak with the other board members regarding the individuals that each board member is identifying. So just to give a little background, the select board have been soliciting residents to serve on this off-leash dog park working group. The select board at your April 16th meeting did discuss the working group. It would be a full process comprised of a small group of residents and town staff. We do have a select board member, who's the chair, Mr. Vertex. We have also asked for a member of the commission, Conservation Commission, Planning Board, School Committee, and then 3 at-large members. We also have a number of ex officio members who will be town staff to assist this working group in their work. The idea behind this is to look at different options, as there's been a growing increase of requests from residents for the town to look at opportunities to provide an off-leash dog walking area. And so this group will be looking at a variety of areas, and I'm sure they will come up with a creative recommendation for the board's consideration. Right now, we did have a closing. I think we ended up with a total of 8 residents who volunteered to serve in this capacity, and the board is looking to identify 3 of those 8 to serve as at-large members from the community.
Thank you, Chris. So during the selection process, we all submitted some names, and I'm going to say the top selections were.
Mr. Chair, just
Yes.
before you do that,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you I know you were eager to get this on the last agenda, but we had pushed it to tonight, which, I had the opportunity to speak with everybody who expressed an interest. I think all but one who I didn't hear back from, but each person expressed a desire to, be involved, and they were all very thoughtful in their approach. So I think many have said, even if they were not appointed as part of this process, they were certainly going to be part of the public meetings and be in attendance and have recommendations as part of that. So just want to, make sure that people know that whether or not your name is on this initial list, you certainly are welcome to participate in all those public meetings.
Thanks, Rob. And I pretty much said the same thing with the addition of the secretarial duties with each of them. Marianne, did you want to pop in with any comments on that at all?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who volunteered. I also had the opportunity to speak with all but one who I didn't hear from. And, notably, a number of the folks who volunteered for this group said to me, this is the first time I've volunteered to be on a town board or committee, which is fabulous. I'm glad that this is drawing people in and raising this desire for public service. And of course, we want all residents who are interested in this issue to participate in the process, whether or not they are on the working group.
Thank you, Marianne. And the other thing I wanted to add is that this is a priority for the select board. We're here to serve you, and we see this as a need became quite apparent, and this board will do its very best to help our residents with this situation. So without any further ado, I think I can announce the 3 names that we're going to be voting on. The at-large residents selected in alphabetical order were Kathy Kelleher, Susan Lowell, and Mike Volpe. Thanks to everyone, as Rob said, who put their hats in the rings, and Marianne, it was very nice what you said about that as well. Additional voting members so far will be the Select Board Chair, Joe Privatera, me, the Planning Board Representative, Kate Nee, School Committee Rep to be determined, and the Concom, Todd Sullivan. Did I miss anybody there, Chris? No, okay. And then,
You captured everyone.
okay, the ex officio members, Community Economic Development, Nora Loughnane and Elijah Romulus, Concom agent, Karen Skinner-Catrone, Police Department rep to be announced, and DPW rep to be announced. So, any questions on those from my fellow members?
No questions with respect to the nominees that we're going to vote on. I did want to say that as part of my conversations with folks, and Joe, since you'll be sort of the select board member on this, I think there's probably a need for some real clear guidelines. And I think, from my perspective, there are three. One is our residents need to feel safe where they're walking. And I think two is both dog owners and their dogs need some place that they can get both exercise as well as socialization. I'm a dog owner myself, so I can empathize with that. And the third is, I think this needs to be done as efficiently, economically as possible, because we know already the many things that we have on the list. So I'm looking to make sure that we're doing this as financially efficiently as we can do it.
Thank you, Rob. And as I was speaking with someone at Fox Hill Village, it's interesting. I was on two comprehensive plans and one outdoor and recreation plan. It's funny how dog parks was never on our radar in years past, but I think this is one of those post-COVID things too that's come along. No questions from the public, correct, Tish?
That's correct. No questions.
Okay. I'm happy to take a motion.
I hereby move that the select board take the following three actions. Number one, appoint at-large residents Kathy Kelleher, Susan Lowell, and Mike Volpe as members of the Off-Leash / Dog Park Working Group for terms to end on June 30, 2025. Number two, appoint Joe Privatera as the select board representative, Kate Nee from the Planning Board, and Todd Sullivan as the Conservation Commission representative to the Off-Leash Dog Park Working Group for terms also to expire on June 30, 2025. And number three, to appoint Nora Loughnane, Elijah Romulus, and Karen Skinner-Catrone as ex officio members of the Off-Leash Dog Park Working Group, also with terms to end on June 30, 2025.
I will second all three actions within that motion.
Well, Pat, I dropped the ball, but I'm going to go ahead. Thank you for the second. Roll call vote. Mary Ann?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I'll vote in favor as well. Thank you all, and thank you for all who offered their services. Look forward to working with the folks selected. Chris, I think the next item is yours.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, on an annual basis, annually, I come before the board and I ask the board to authorize me to identify a member to serve as a temporary town administrator. And the temporary town administrator is to serve in my absence, primarily when I'm outside the Commonwealth. In the past, we have presented names, and most recently, we presented positions. And just like last year, my recommendation for the board, and by the way, this is pursuant to the town charter, chapter 6, section 4-2. I have recommended to the board to allow me to appoint either assistant town administrator, director of human resources, the assistant town administrator, finance director, and also now treasurer collector, or town council to serve in that capacity. And when that is done, there's a letter that is submitted to the town clerk's office and notification is provided to the select board.
Thank you, Chris. Is there any discussion on that, Rob and Mary Ann?
No.
I think this is how we did it last year, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Is there a motion?
There is. I move that the select board approve the notice for acting and temporary town administrator, which allows the town administrator, Christopher Coleman, to appoint the assistant town administrator / finance director, assistant town administrator / human resources director, or town council as temporary town administrator for any period during the fiscal year 2025, and to give notice to the town clerk and the select board.
I second that motion.
Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Roll call. Mary Ann,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Anything else on that, Chris? Are we good?
All set. Thank you very much.
Next, we have appointments, reappointments of boards and committees. Chris, do you want to take this? Or who wants to take
I
this?
certainly would, but I believe Tish is going to do this for us this time.
Okay,
It'll be much smoother, Mr. Chair, if Tish does it.
I don't know about that, but okay.
I agree
so-
100%, man, 100%.
This is our first dive into the annual reappointments of boards and committees. So around this time each year, we reach out to all of the boards and committees chairs to see if, and to the members to see if they want to be reappointed. So we start the process and we ask that residents respond back to us within a certain time frame. And so now we have, if you want to walk through the list, just walk through.
I do. The only part I'm confused about, Chris and Tish, is Teresa and the Cultural Commission. I thought we would take that separately, or are we rolling it into the whole list?
Sure, we can take that separately. The Westwood Cultural Council had 2 resignations, so they have 2 member appointments and 2 member openings right now. We posted this on the town website and asked for residents to submit a resume and a statement of interest, and we received one from Teresa Laham. And this past week, Chris, Joe Privatera, and the Westwood Cultural Council and Innis met with Teresa Laham and are recommending her appointment to the Westwood Cultural Council. And if approved tonight, they will still have 1 additional member to appoint to that council.
Thank you,
I don't
Tish.
know
And
if Joe wants to, or Chris wants to talk about that interview.
go ahead, Chris.
I just thought the process, I thought Teresa was very engaging. I think she'd be a great asset. She seems to have a very diverse background that could be a true asset to the committee, or the council, excuse me.
Having worked with Ms. Lamb on the superintendent search committee, I think she's a great appointment.
Marian, any thoughts?
She looks superb, and thank you for stepping up, Teresa.
I have to tell you, this has been so much fun for me interviewing people for some of these committees, because we've gotten some, shoot, Chris, I've only been doing it a little while, but we've really gotten some top shelf candidates onto these committees. And I can tell you from my own professional experience, you don't always walk away from an interview feeling good, but I felt pretty great after the last few we've done. She seems outstanding. So I'm certainly happy to entertain a motion, Miss Marianne.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Marianne?
No discussion. I vote aye.
Okay, Rob?
Aye.
I vote aye as well to appoint Ms. Laham. Thank you. Okay, Tish, I think we can take the rest.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Marianne.
Board of Health, Roger Christian as a member. Cemetery Commission, Frank Jacobs as a member, Chris Coleman and Brenda Ryan as ex officio members. Commission on Disability, Mary Ann
Tish,
Carney
I'm
as-
sorry. I don't mean to disrupt your flow. I just want to point out that some of them have different start and end dates. So I didn't know if you wanted to, note that at all.
I could do that. I could do
Yeah,
that.
just as a point of order, Rob, I know where you're going with this because you've done this. If you were to read the folks to be reappointed with their position and their terms, then I think I could come at the end of that and move it.
Okay,
That would be an acceptable way of doing things.
all right.
Thank you, Council.
Board of Health, Roger Christian as a member with an term end date of June 30, 2027. Cemetery Commission, Frank Jacobs as a member through June 30th, 2027. Christopher Coleman and Brendan Ryan as ex officio members for terms to end on June 30th, 2025. Commission on Disability, Mary Ann Carty as a member with a term to end on June 30th, 2027. Conservation Commission, Deborah O'Day and Grace Weller, both as members with terms to end on June 30th, 2027. Karen Skinner Catroni as an ex officio member with a term to end on June 30th, 2025. 3 constables, Frank Baker, Mike Delala, and Christopher Sheehy, with terms to end on June 30th, 2025. Election officers. Each one of these election officers will have an end date or a term to end on June 30th, 2025. Elaine Arp, Michelle Belluti, Cheryl Bearden, Joan Broderick, Mark Broderick, Mitchell Burrick, David Jarrell, Kathy, Brian Kamaker, Roger Christian, John Clarity, Ann Cronin, Thomas Daly, Christopher Devens, Claudia Duff, Britta Fredrickson, Marie Keeler, Teresa Laham, Lynn Lawless, Barbara Laws, Carol LeBrov, Nancy Looney, Joseph Margolin, Kathleen McDonough, Karen McGilly, Patrice McGinnis, Colleen McLean, Barbara Moore, Ann Neville, Doug Obey, Joan O'Brien, Terry O'Neill, Mary Ann O'Sullivan, Punitha Palakurthi, Karen Pareda, Susan Scales, Gail Siebert, William Siebert, Charlene Sotolongo, Stephen Springer, Julia Thistlethwaite. Okay. Sarah Thomas, Gentiana Tupali, Priscilla Lyons West, and Jane Wigan.
There's 4 more.
Yep. Wendy Wellham, David Zapsik, Kathleen Zapsik, and Jenna Zonderman. Okay, so now we're on to the Housing Partnership Fair Housing Committee. We have member appointments for Catherine Levine, Michael McCusker, Joan Courtney Murray, Lou Rizzoli, all to expire on June 30th, 2025. Amanda Wolf as our housing agent ex officio 2025, and Christopher Coleman as ex officio, expire in 2025. Town Perambulator, Stephen Springer with a term to end on June 20th, 2025. We've already touched on Teresa Laham and the Cultural Council, her terms to expire in 2027. Westwood Cultural Council, Julie Gervais, member with a term to expire in 2027. Tom Philbin, ex officio member with a term to expire on June 30th, 2025.
Just point of order. Go ahead.
Yep. I think you meant to say Westwood Environmental Action Committee for those 2, Tish.
Oh, sorry, Westwood Environmental Action Committee. And then I think I'm down to
Youth and Family.
Youth and Family Services. Okay. Janica Maderi, member with the term to end on 2027. Katie Coltart, ex officio member with the term to end on 2025. And then 4 student members with terms to end on 2026. Narawut Kamaratan Pibun, Michael Mansour, Bella Milanazzo, and Andy Sullivan. I think that's it.
Well done. And
Great
so
job.
moved.
Great job.
I will second both the applause and the motion itself.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote. Mary Ann,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well, and kudos to Miss Tish for that.
Thank you, Tish.
That brings us to our liaison appointments. I do have one thing to say on that. If I can find my notes. I'm just going to comment briefly on the Housing Partnership Fair Housing. The local action unit application for 436 Washington Street, that's the 5 units on Washington Street near Everett Street has been approved by the Executive Office of Housing. The Housing Partnership will be voting on the LAU application for 22 Everett Street at our next meeting. And the last thing I wanted to say, and I love seeing this, is Amanda will be conducting a Housing 101 workshop or presentation for the committee members. I think this is outstanding that when the town staff gets involved and puts in a little extra effort to help the people who volunteer, because I certainly needed that guidance when I first went on the Concom. So I want to give a shout out to Amanda Wolf for her strong work on that. And that's my report. Marianne, do you have anything?
Just very briefly, the Commission on Disability is meeting tomorrow night, so I'll have more to report at a future meeting. The Human Rights Task Force, as seen in the Westwood Wire, the HRTF has promoted the fact that June is Pride Month. And I will note that Inclusive Westwood sponsored a wonderful Pride celebration yesterday. June is also National Immigrant Heritage Month, and June 19th is Juneteenth, which will be nationally observed. As to the Norfolk County Advisory Board, I also attended a meeting recently of that board where fairly short meeting where we were dealing with some cleanup on the FY24 budget and working on the FY25 budget. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Rob?
Sure thing. Well, as you know, the Long Range Financial Planning Committee had sort of pressed pause while we were waiting the facility study. So the action taken tonight gives us something of substance to meet and discuss and research. The School Building Committee is meeting to Wednesday night and for an update on the progress down at Pine Hill. But as you've seen, things are moving along really well with respect to the next phase of that project. And WEAC was here last time, so I don't have any updates on that. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? I think we're on to approval of meeting minutes for May 13th and May 28th. Let's see. I looked at those. They look fine to me. I don't have any additions, deletions, or corrections. Marianne?
They look good to me too.
Okay.
So I will be happy to move that we approve the regular meeting minutes from May 13, 2024 meeting as written.
And I will second that motion.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote. Marianne?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank
I
you.
also move, oh, I'm sorry, Joe, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I also move that we approve the regular meeting minutes from our May 28, 2024 meeting as written.
And I will second that motion.
Roll call vote. Marianne?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thanks, Marianne. Thanks, Rob. Tish, nice job. Any other business that I'm not aware of has to come before the board? Anything, got something in the Q&A, Tish, do we?
You do. You have one more question. So this is a question from Kathy Wallace, 283 Farm Lane. August 2027 is a long. I'm sorry. Guys get my feedback? Okay. Kathy Wallace, 283 Farm Lane. August 2027 is a long time to wait for the completion of Fire Station 1, a much needed public safety asset. Is there any way to accelerate the completion date of the Fire Station 1 project?
I'm going to take a stab at that. And there isn't a satisfactory answer because we need it yesterday. But I will say that, again, the timeline is exquisite. I can't believe, Chris, how tight some of these dates and times are, that the envelope that we have to work within. And I think we're all trying our very best to accommodate those dates and the things surrounding it that seems like every time I turn around, there's another feature that has to be taken into consideration. Chris, can you think of anything else along those lines?
I certainly echo what you said, Mr. Chair. I also just like to remind the board and all those watching, the town has only provided authorization for design bid funding. So we do not have approval for construction. Our plan is to go to town meeting, make a recommendation to the board, hopefully get the support from the board, go to town meeting, and then present this to town meeting. So although we did identify the construction timetable, I just want to make sure, just a little asterisk to make sure everyone understands that we have not received authorization from town meeting for construction to date. But yes, we would certainly look to seek approval from the select board, from FinCom, and from town meeting, and would certainly like to get this project done as quickly as possible. And I think, Mr. Chair, as you said, the timeline that has been put out is very tight, and certainly working in that direction.
Thanks, Chris. Molly, anything else you wanted to add to that? You've been in the thick of it.
I would just say if Chin was still here, he would say that we've been pushing Dora and Whittier as hard as we possibly can to get as expedited a date as we can. We're working with what we got, and at the same time wanting to make sure we deliver the most robust, most well thought out recommendation to the board. And that just takes time.
Excellent point, Molly, because he has been pushing them on it. He's doing a great job. Thanks, Molly. Excellent point. All right, Kathy, I hope that satisfies your question there. I think we're up to public and press. Am I right, Tish?
You are. There's no other questions in the chat.
All right, why don't we give that 1 minute, and then our next meeting will be June 24th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And shame on me, I didn't. Alex, thank you so much for your time this evening. I appreciate that from Westwood Media Center. All right, I think I'm ready for a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
And roll call vote. Mary Ann?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Alex.